Buenas tardes a todos. Para mí es un gusto estar con ustedes. Muchas gracias por conectarse desde México, Colombia, Chile, Perú, Argentina y Venezuela. Mi nombre es Rus Trujillo, asistente de Mercadotecnia para Berlitz. Les damos la más cordial bienvenida a nuestro Digital Workshop, que el tema de hoy es cómo hacer que las reuniones de trabajo sean más productivas usando habilidades de comunicación efectiva. Hoy nos acompaña Frank Villaseca, quien es instructor ejecutivo en Berlitz con más de 20 años de experiencia impartiendo programas de capacitación en comunicación empresarial y 15 años de experiencia en la enseñanza de programas de idiomas. Muchas gracias a ustedes por acompañarnos y bienvenido, Frank.
Thank you very much, Ruth. It's my pleasure to be here today. Hey, everybody, thank you for joining. It's a great pleasure to have you. And I also like to thank Berlitz for this opportunity to share with you some of my knowledge or my experience in leading very, very important productive meetings. And I'm sure you all have that experience, you know, oftentimes when you are attending a meeting and how many times you feel like, you know, there's some, roadblock along the way or, it's not clear where we're getting or there's no objective, clear enough for all to see and have. And there is not a visible or tangible output or outcome for us to have in such a meeting. And it feels like we're, getting distracted from actual work, not being very productive. And obviously, we may feel that these talks or speeches go and discussions go around in circles. So today we're gonna have and talk what makes a good, productive, successful meeting. So this is my first slide for you all to see. And this is what I think makes a great productive meeting. Number one, you have that one objective or outcome achieved. You have achieved what you set out to do in that very meeting. Time was used carefully. Time was used in a very productive way. You did not exceed the time allotted for your meeting. And number three, perhaps the toughest, I have to say, in my experience, dealing with people, interacting with people from different cultures, different areas, different companies and whatnot, different corporate cultures. I think to find a way to live, to make sure people live their rooms satisfied and happy, it's sort of like the toughest challenge along the way. So in order to get all this, we'll break down today what it takes to really come up with the real broad, true, solid, broad objective with desirable outcomes, using time wisely, and make sure your participants are ready to go and do something about your meeting. Here we go. So the first point we need to understand is this meeting really, really necessary? How often do you have meetings along the way that really didn't feel like it was just more than a conversation, or it could have been done, or it could have been solved by simply sending an email or just having a quick phone call? How many times you had numbers of meetings, so close together, you didn't even have time to grab a cup of coffee or a glass of water because they were so close together. So before we go into understanding what we need to achieve, we need to decide whether to meet or not. So here I share with you guys, this is a very nice tip we got from our good friends at hbr.org. That I love this decision tree. So the first thing you would need to do is think carefully, think it through. What's going on? If you have molded what you need to talk to people about or what you need to set out and do, first thing you need to ask yourself is, do I need somebody else's input to make things happen, to make progress? If that's a yes, we move on to the next point. For me to make headway, do I really need to have that real-time conversation? Is that a yes? Well, will that really require a face-to-face interaction? If so, if the answer to all of those questions is yes, then you move on and schedule and prepare for your meeting. Making sure you understand that all of the constituents around you have to meet with you in order to make progress on a given issue or objective. If the answers you have seen are preceded by a no, well, you make time for thinking and go back to step one. Probably you may schedule time to do the work yourself. Or is it necessary to have a meeting? If that's a no, take a call or send an email if that's enough. And last but not least, very common these days, we may go for a virtual communication media, whether this is a chat, any kind of instant messaging application, whether that is internal or not in your company, a call, or perhaps a nice video conference, a nice telepresence call that would get you going and make sure that your objective is clear and that the people you're asking to attend are really relevant to your topic or your objective. Okay, pretty good. So once we have decided that we truly and really need to meet, let's think about what are the types of meetings we may have. Over here, we have a nice chart, and you can see that the types of meetings we have in blue, web-based, very common today, about 29% of the times we meet virtually. Face-to-face meetings still in the gray portion of the pie, but it's still necessary today. That takes up 26% of the time. Conference calls in the yellow would probably take a little less, 24%. Private meetings will account for 11% in that purple piece of the pie. 10% that is not accounted for probably is for other informal meetings. So these are the most common types of meetings we may have at work today. I'm sure that probably you're all thinking, yes, these are the types of meetings we have. The really important thing here, guys, is to make sure that no matter what types of meetings we have and how many meetings we have during the day, we need to make sure those meetings are successful. We achieve our objective. We have just the right time to have the meeting. We allot the right time to have the meeting. We do not exceed the time allotted. And that at the end of the day, my participants are satisfied with the process and there is a call to action. Okay, pretty good. Let's move on. Now, here is a very important piece of the process, the framework of my meeting. I need to think of my time commitment. How long will it last? The facilities, where is it taking place? What are the objectives or desired outcomes included in my agenda? We have basically three basic purposes for meetings. We either need to inform, we need to persuade, or we need to sell. The whole thing about problem solving, decision making, etc., is included in all three. The next point here is really important. The audience. Who should be there? What are the demographics included in considering the audience? What do we mean by that? Very simple. We include, obviously, the participants that have to be in our meeting, whether they're relevant or not to the decision-making process. Can they make decisions? Are they in a position to influence the outcome of my meeting? Who are they? What position are they in? Or, if necessary, who are they accountable to? Are they there on their own free will, or they were asked to attend? Obviously, on behalf or in representation of someone else. What other demographics or psychographics may we include here? If it's a meeting with a client or supplier, what is the size of their firm? What is their meeting style? What is their business style? What is their communication style? And last but not least, we're having a point where we understand who's hosting. Is this virtual? Do we have more than one host? Is this face-to-face? Do we have more than one person involved in the hosting? Who will be in charge of taking notes or minutes? And obviously, every person responsible for topics during the meeting. And obviously, the desired outcomes for every topic. So bear in mind, these points or questions before you set out to send out the invite for your meeting. So it's all about the content, the process, and the audience. Let's move on into understanding our objectives of meetings. Like I said, we have purposes. Your purpose, you can write it down on a piece of paper. What are you setting out to do? Do I need to inform? Is there a decision to be made? Are we simply exchanging information, ideas? Do I need to get people's opinions or comments on something or views? Are we discussing something relevant to every member of the audience, relevant to your business, to your company? Out of these objectives, remember, your purpose is clear, you write it down, then you decide your objective, you put this into your broad objective. Today, I want to inform my shareholders about this and that. Or today, I would like to help my team to make a decision on an important subject. Or I would like to have a brainstorming meeting or exchanging ideas with other areas. Or we would like to discuss important policies in our corporate culture. This could be your broad objective. But don't just stay there with a broad objective. It's good, but we need something that is more tangible, more, let's say, more achievable. Something that at the end of your meeting, people will have in mind and also will be considered as a call to action. We need a desired outcome. So this is the first hack. Break your broad objective into a desired outcome. Like I said, for example, if I want to talk to people, inform, basically tell people why we need a new system, why we need a new program, a new software or new solution, whatever that may be. That's kind of good, that's fun, and people for them to learn and say, okay, now we know why we need to have this new system instead of the old one, what the benefits are. But the desired outcome is not there. A good desired outcome out of this broad objective would be, okay, I want people to go back to their office, to their desk, and give the new system, why not? Give it a run, give it a test drive. Try it out. Go and do it. Try the new system out, give it a whirl, and write down whatever your comments may be, your observations, what you see, what you like, what you don't like, and come back and meet with us next week so we can discuss your findings. That would be a good desired outcome. Would people feel like, this was a productive meeting? I would say yes. And would they have something to do at the end of the meeting? Yep, they will. And obviously, they would come back to you and share their findings. So there would be a collective sense of making headway. Right? So how does that feel? Does it look like, does it sound like something you want to do? I think it does. Our very next hack is very clear, and going back to meet or not to meet. If when you're getting ready to, prepare your meeting content, you're not sure what your meeting will accomplish, don't have it. There's nothing worse than finishing the meeting that had no clear way to go. Or it was fun, we had a great time together, but we did not achieve anything. Don't treat every conversation like a meeting. It doesn't have to be. If there's not a broad objective or desired outcome, probably is not a good idea to have it. So think twice before you try and call on a meeting. It's not always easy to do and end up with a little bit of egg on your face. Okay, pretty good. Let's move on. I love this hack. Time boxing. Time boxing is a great time management technique. Time boxing is based on Parkinson's law of time management. According to this man, Parkinson, back in the 50s, he thought that work would flow and get completed if there was a clear time commitment. It sounds a little iffy, but let me tell you that it seems right. Somehow or somewhat, work will get done in the time allotted if you have a clear time commitment. So time boxing is like basically, blocking slots of your calendar, of your day calendar, to get something done. But make sure that time box is clear for you and your audience, and that the time frame is met. It would surely help you have a clear time window, improve your results, your efficiency and productivity. And this is something like the Pomodoro technique. You can break down your time of your day in 20 or 30-minute boxes that you can devote to a very specific topic. The key to time boxing is also, I love this is very German. They're very single focus. So that means, hey guys, we're gonna have 30 minutes to talk about this topic. That's it. There will be no other topics, no matter how relevant, there will be no other topics discussed. And once we're done with the one topic in this time box, we may proceed to the next topic, obviously with its very own time box. So we need to stick to that plan, right? And really carefully and effectively plan our time slots. So again, whether it's 20, 30, 40 minutes, make sure you stick to your topic. Be very single focused. No other topics discussed. No digressing. Okay, pretty good. So once we understand how to manage time, once we understand how to break our broad objective into desired outcomes and have a call to action, and we do understand that all three elements are doable, and we have invited the right people to the meeting, then we will be able to probably ensure a more productive setting and a more productive use of time. Now, what is left is facilitation. Yes, we have the objective. We know the time we need to use. We know the people that need to attend to our meeting. But what about the process? How do we lead into the process of facilitation? How do we lead discussions? We have an audience with different, probably your audience will come to your meeting with very different assumptions. And this is kind of interesting and yet risky. Why? Because people with their own concept of what is going to be talked about, what is going to be discussed, what is going to be delivered, they may come with their own assumptions, with their own beliefs of what is what. So the first resistance you will have to face is logical resistance. Is what you're saying, probably right now, you're sort of like thinking, okay, what Frank's saying probably rings true, or maybe you're saying, what the hell is he talking about? This is very simply your logical resistance. Your experience is going to tell you otherwise. Second type of resistance you have is obviously emotional resistance. When people come and try to change our way of doing things, or traditions, or customs, or standards, we will react to that emotionally and we will resist it. So once you know that your audience is going to somehow resist what you're going to share, what you're going to talk about, make sure you take control. Set your rules. Tell people when it's the right time to participate, to ask questions, or to have their say. So be in charge of who has their say. Control participation. Your role as a facilitator is also to moderate discussion. Rule number 2, don't let yourself be interrupted. Let your train of thought roll. If somebody stops you dead on your tracks, just go ahead and say, hey, thank you, appreciate your comment, and I'm sure you have something important to say, but I believe this is also important to your audience. So if you don't mind, I would like to proceed. People, attendees, even people above you, bosses, would understand. It's not a big deal. It's not rocket science. They would understand this is not the right time to say something. Use your body language. If you're presenting in front of an audience, or it's an important meeting and you're presenting a topic, use your body language. Use your extended arm and your palm to say, just, hey, stop right there. Just give me a quick minute. I need to have this done and set, and then I'll let you have the floor. Once people have contributed to your meeting and you want to share what is being said, because probably someone in the back of the room was not paying attention, you can both paraphrase, make it a little more, let's say, understandable for your audience. Give it a little bit of a different taste, if you will. Paraphrase in a way that everyone will be clear on what is being agreed or said, and summarize other points or the points that have been already delivered. Okay, so this is as far as your leading discussion. So what's next? Make sure the group, your audience, is ready to cooperate. Sometimes we may have different types of attendees. Some of them may be, why not, very talkative. Have you ever had that experience of a person that is talking all the time, not letting others get a word in edgewise? It's tough, especially if that person is making a good point. So make sure you encourage others' participation at the same time. What happens if some of your participants are shy? Sort of like, quiet, non-responsive, even though they may have a good thing to say, or they may make a good point. Well, try to encourage participation. Don't prod, don't push too hard, because it might be, going the wrong way. It might, rev people up the wrong way. But try and try again. If there is probably a clash of personalities, of agendas, or issues may reveal themselves during your meeting, what do we do when this happens and there's a little bit of tension up in the air? Don't worry. First thing you need to do is offer a change of focus. Okay, this issue is clearly, we're not getting anywhere here, so why don't we just put a pin on that, and revisit the issue at the end of the meeting or some other time, and discuss other issues at hand. Because number one, they're not going to get to any agreement, and number two, it's time consuming. So change the focus of your discussion. Introduce other or new issues. Obviously, you need the consent of your audience for this, but I mean, probably if they understand that this is time consuming, they will go on ahead and say yes. So you can use a very simple approach. It's a 3-step approach. First off, describe. Hey, I see that you guys, or that we have already intensively discussed this particular aspect. Recommend. Why don't we just move on and talk about other topics at hand? Or I suggest that we first look at all other issues that you'd like to clarify today, so that we don't lose track of things. And number 3, get consent. Would that be right? Do you agree with that? Does that make sense? People will surely say yes, just to avoid the very touchy-feely topic. Use meta communication. Meta communication is very simple. You need to make sure that your verbal and non-verbal language, are matching one another. If you talk to someone at a meeting, you welcome someone at a meeting and say, hey, it's great to see you, but at the same time, you roll your eyes, the meta is not there. You know, your verbal communication does not match your nonverbal. So make sure you use your verbal and nonverbal language correctly. Sometimes whatever you say, probably telling your customer, dear customer, we'd like to remind you that this type of request is not appropriate, is not acceptable. What your meta communication is saying is we hate our customers. So make sure your meta communication is clear. Take that third party perspective to understand what's going on. Let's imagine somebody is, again, having a tough discussion. So you can tell the person, hey, I noticed that your tone is getting a little bit harsh, aggressive. What could be the reason? Make sure the person understands that his meta communication is a little bit off. And last but not least, let's look at visualization. Help people visualize what's going on. And this is not only a rhetorical way. No, make sure you have the right visual so people understand. Whether you have a good slide or a flip chart, make sure that whatever visual is supporting your meeting, your sharing of information or data is clear for all to see. Okay, pretty good. Don't you hate it when people interrupt for apparently no reason, all willy-nilly? Okay, invite people to interrupt tactfully. Or you yourself, if you're afraid of interrupting, do it tactfully. I know it takes courage. But if you know it's right, do it anyway. Even if the person you may be interrupting is your boss. If somebody is interrupting another participant and you're speaking to that other participant, turn your body to the interrupter and back to the original speaker so as to point, this is his or her turn, just you wait. And give the interrupter, if the interrupter is insisting, the heckler is insisting, okay, acknowledge the importance of his or her need to interrupt, but use the 30-second rule. Okay, Mr. Johnson, I understand that you have something important to say, but let's keep it to 30 seconds. We need to go on. We need other issues to look at other issues, and we don't need to take that much time. So give people a 30-second box to speak. You will keep your participants from exceeding time and keeping their statements short and very explicit. Keep it low context. Remember, short, explicit, concise, and to the point. Pretty good. How are we doing so far? A lot of information. I hope you're making your mental notes. Now, what happens when we have today? We're going to have, in today's an example of that. I love it. We have more and more people from different locations, and it doesn't matter. This is all Latin America. It could be people in North America, Europe, Asia, whatever. We're having to facilitate this international, this cross-cultural conversations. And as easy as it may seem, even though we're all in Latin America, we have different styles in communication, different style in how we are going to process information, where we're going to deliver information. In some of our countries in Latam, people tend to be very talkative, very verbose, very eloquent, if you will. And in some other countries or other latitudes, people may be obviously a little bit more, you know, explicit, more, instrumental, not that into detail. So consider the style, the background of that person. Does that person have an extensive experience dealing with all the cultures? Is this person comfortable using that target language? Sometimes it's not easy. So you need to be conscious that it is not only about what you have to say, that is important, it is, but it's also very important to take into consideration what is understood by others. It's not what you say alone, but what the listener, the recipient of the message, takes away. So adjust your language to the audience to ensure that you're understood by everyone. One thing that works for me all the time is that the way we do in America is we feel or we know that we're responsible for the message. So we need to make sure the message is understood. So we are going to confirm and or clarify as necessary. So if you're having a conversation with someone like that, I mean, it's not only exclusive of U.S. Americans, it could be any other direct, let's say, direct low context culture. Could be Canadians, some Europeans as well, Australians, etc. If this person is in this communication style, he or she will make sure the message is understood and ask questions like, does that make sense? Is that clear? Are we on the same page? We're going to ask open-ended questions to make sure the message is received as intended. So be conscious of your ability, your speaking ability, and if necessary, speak slower and at times use a simpler vocabulary than you would in front of other native speakers or in front of native speakers. That is, if your speech is very technical, make sure you use a watered down version so that people do understand what you're saying. Consider a clear articulation, a clear pronunciation. Try to avoid that type of idiomatic or figurative speech that may not be understood by everyone. Okay. Explain the structure of your approach and briefly summarize what you expect people to understand at the end of the day using simple words. Okay. And again, adjust your tone, your pronunciation, and your wording as necessary. And well, meeting dynamics are also important. Sometimes, if you're having this type of virtual meetings with people from Asia, for example, you will see that for some of them, it's hard to, keep eye contact with the speaker. So more likely than not, their cameras will be turned off to save a little face, not to be embarrassed or not to be addressed directly. Do not assume that your standard is universal. Some other people may need more time and interaction in order to build trust or to feel more confident in meetings. Before they make a decision or agree to a plan, they may need one or two more meetings to get comfortable, to feel confident, or know that you and your company are trustworthy. In other cases, depending on that, on their standards, on their own country standards, some people may need approval from others, from another party, from boss or their boss's boss. So the different constituents may be involved in the loop at the same time. So it is important you consider these background language and meeting dynamics when facilitating meetings with people from different countries, different cultures. Okay, pretty good. So we're now about to get to our Q&A. So we're going to take now a couple of minutes, guys, for you guys to look at a poll. We have 2 poll questions for you to answer. Please take your time answering the poll questions that we're going to pop up right now. Let's do it. There you go. The first question, 2 questions here for the poll. So first one, it's any of these tips, do you find it useful? Yeah, can it help you be more productive? Right. And number 2, the other skills that you'll like to explore in the future. And we have 2 beauties right there: storytelling, negotiations. What would you like to explore in our upcoming webinars with our good folks at Berlitz? And remember, all of these programs we have, we're talking about these topics and of meetings, productive meetings. We can help you get there. We have the right programs for you at Berlitz, focused specifically on this skill. This is only a little taste, it's only 30 minutes, guys, but a few minutes, but make sure you talk to your Berlitz consultant and explore the options we have for you. We have face-to-face programs, we have online programs on these topics. And it's not only about the language, it's more about the communication style and how to use language with these skills that you already have and how to get things done. Okay, pretty good. All right, we have negotiations is coming up as a true winner for our next webinar. We hear you and we're going to get ready for that. Thank you very much. Pretty good. Let's go. Let's continue. Now it's time for your Q&A. Thank you, kindly.
Muchas gracias, Frank, por este gran tema. Los invitamos a que escriban sus preguntas en la sección de Q&A. Estas pueden ser en español y se estarán respondiendo igual en español.
No problem.
Perfecto. Listo, Frank. Ya tenemos una primera pregunta de Luis Tobar. ¿Cómo consideras manejar la reunión si el tema se desvía hacia algo que también es importante, pero el tiempo es justo?
Muy buena pregunta, Luis. Esto es lo que hablaba cuando hablábamos del time boxing. Puedes bien decirle a la persona, si esta interrupción te va a llevar mucho tiempo, te recomiendo que le digas, en ese caso es cuando usamos phrases like, I know that is important. We're going to put a pin on that. And if we have time at the end, we'll revisit that. I know that is relevant to you and maybe relevant to the rest of the audience. Puede ser relevante para todos. Le ponemos un pin y si nos queda tiempo al final de la reunión, pues podemos explorarlo. Si es una pregunta o una participación que llevaría mucho tiempo y es solo relevante para una persona de la audiencia, sí recomendaría que se hiciera otra junta, ¿no? Recomendar tiempo extra para la junta con esa persona en particular, o si es relevante para los demás, pues hacer tu time box o sugerir una junta en el futuro, tal vez inmediatamente al siguiente día o durante el mismo día en alguna otra hora que los demás estén de acuerdo para abordar el tema. Pero si no es tan relevante, recomiéndale a la persona que no es, puede ser visto en otra ocasión o que realmente no tiene nada que ver con tu broad objective y tu desired outcome.
Muchas gracias, Frank. Tenemos otra pregunta de Cintia Morales. Ella nos dice, ¿qué debe de incluir una agenda para que nuestras reuniones sean efectivas?
Excelente pregunta. Aquí te recomiendo mucho que piensa cuál es tu propósito. Tenemos que diferenciar de propósito y objetivo y tu desired outcome. Tu propósito, quiero informar un nuevo proceso. Ok, fantástico. ¿Cuál es? Rompe ese proceso, ese propósito en un objetivo general. Informar y considerar los beneficios del nuevo proceso. Ese es tu broad objective. Pero ¿qué es lo que quieres que se lleven? ¿Cuál es tu desired outcome? ¿Cuál es tu resultado deseable? Al final de esta junta, los participantes van a conocer, entender y saber cómo usar el nuevo proceso para yara. ¿Ok? Vas a tener que romper ese broad objective, ese propósito y ese broad objective en una acción clara para tus participantes. Al final del día, si ellos saben que ya aprendieron ese nuevo proceso y van a regresar a sus lugares a ponerlo en práctica o a ponerlo en uso, pues el resultado de tu junta fue algo que tenía una acción tangible para que ellos hicieran después de la junta. Y eso nos da el sense de que fue una junta muy productiva.
Muy bien, tenemos otra pregunta de Esther Fernández. Ella dice, en reuniones largas es apropiado hacer un break y de cuánto tiempo?
Oh, excelente. Si tu reunión, tu meeting es de, digamos, más de hora y media, es muy simple. Si es de más de hora y media, yo pondré un break de 5 minutos cada 30 minutos, ¿no? Para que la gente tenga tiempo de, pues, no sé, estirar las piernas o caminar un poquito o hablar de otras cosas, no sé, ir a coger una taza de café, responder un email urgente o una llamada, etcétera. Pero si no tienes una idea clara de cuánto es el tiempo que tienes, si tu junta se extiende por horas, te recomiendo que seas estés muy atenta a la body language de tu audiencia, ¿no? Si los ves cansados, si un poquito annoyed, like, stop, dilo. Oh, ok, sé que todos estamos un poquito cansados en este momento. ¿Por qué no tomamos un break para que se relajen unos minutos y regresamos a retomar el tema? Eso, número uno, va a hacer que la gente diga, yes, la persona que está facilitando la junta está en sincronía conmigo, y me entiende, y van a regresar con una mejor actitud.
Perfecto. Bueno, tenemos otra pregunta y dice, ¿cómo puedo hacer ver al ponente que hay errores en el tema, pero sin necesidad de exponerlo públicamente?
Wow. Bueno, aquí tenemos que tener mucho cuidado. Si el ponente estaba arriba de mí en la jerarquía, en privado y de una manera muy diplomática, ¿no? Pero si es necesario que en ese momento está afectando el flow de tu junta y obviamente el resultado, utilicemos el mirroring questions. Vamos a usar las preguntas espejo. Mr. Facilitator, or blah, 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 el nombre de la persona. Wouldn't you think or wouldn't you consider this and that? Or in my experience, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah. Habla de tu experiencia desde tu punto de vista muy personal, ¿no? En mi experiencia o desde mi punto de vista muy personal, me gustaría considerar o me gustaría añadir un poco de información o me gustaría aclarar la información que se está presentando, ¿no? O sugiere alternativas, ¿no? Ok, entiendo que esa parte es importante o es relevante o es clara, pero me gustaría sugerir algo más o me gustaría sugerir algo diferente. podríamos considerar esto en lugar de, es decir, usar un lenguaje indirecto y muy diplomático. El ponente lo agradecerá si se da cuenta de que ha caído en un error.
Excelente. Y tenemos una pregunta de Gloria Sánchez. How soon should the minutes of the meeting be sent?
As soon as you can. Right away. Tan pronto como puedas. Si es una junta interna, boom. En cuanto termines tu junta, dale send a tu email. Lo acaban de ver, entonces el minute ahí les va a ayudar a recordar de lo que se habló, el tema que se trató, las soluciones que llegaron, los acuerdos. Do it right away. De inmediato.
Listo. Una pregunta de Fabián Castro. ¿Qué tan importante es el small talk antes de la reunión?
Es una excelente pregunta, Fabián. El small talk es súper importante, independientemente del background cultural, inclusive con las culturas que son un poquito más business oriented, más doing oriented. El small talk te da la oportunidad de romper el hielo. Si es una primera vez que te reúnes con estas personas, pues todos están con cierta tensión, no saben qué pensar. Entonces, ese small talk es muy importante para conectar con tu audiencia en un nivel un poquito más personal, para crear ese rapport, ¿no? Hablas de topics que son triviales o que son a lo mejor de lo que todos podemos hablar, de viajes, si son personas que visitan, cómo tuvo su viaje, si es la primera vez que vienen al país, el clima, etcétera, etcétera, ¿no? Son topics muy safe, muy seguros. Y sí te dan la oportunidad de crear ese rapport y esa conexión emocional desde el inicio de tu junta. So, yo diría sí, es muy importante tener al mínimo unos 5 minutos de small talk en lo que todos llegan a la junta, ¿no? Sí, perfecto.
Muchas gracias, Frank. Daniela Martínez a través de Facebook nos pregunta, ¿cuánto tiempo es apropiado para las dudas y preguntas?
Dependiendo de cuántos topics tuviste, si al terminar tu junta hiciste tu summary y tu conclusion y tu recap y todo estuvo claro, probablemente no más de 10 minutos.
Bien, Miguel Flores nos pregunta, ¿qué tanta participación deberíamos permitir que exista para que no se convierta en un debate?
Es un buen punto, Miguel. Tu responsabilidad es moderar. Entonces, cuando tú estás permitiendo, si tienes que permitir que todo el mundo tenga un say, obviamente si tienes un grupo de 30 personas, pues va a ser difícil. Pero si es una junta de 5 o 6 personas, asegúrate que las personas que realmente son importantes para tu tema tengan un say, tengan ese uso de la palabra, porque te van a ayudar a llevar tu objetivo. Pero si se da en un momento algún clash, ¿no? Alguna diferencia, ¿no? De puntos de vista o sientes que la conversación se está volviendo un poco agresiva, sí es necesario que intervengas. Es aquí donde hacemos la técnica de cambiar el focus. Ok, ese es un tema a lo mejor un poquito sensible, ya lo hemos discutido a la satisfacción de todos. Cambia el focus y obtén el consentimiento de la audiencia, ¿no? Hey, ¿qué les parece si cambiamos el topic o nos vamos al siguiente issue que también es importante y ponemos en stand-by por un momento? O lo damos por resuelto, ¿no? Por discutido. Yep.
Muy bien, Frank. Y una última pregunta de redes. Nos indica Gabriel Medina. He visto presentaciones que no tienen nada de apoyo visual. ¿Qué tanto es recomendable no tener este?
La persona que hizo eso, yo diría que si no tienes apoyo visual es porque tú eres el visual. Aunque no tengas un slide o lo que sea, tú eres el visual. Es lo único que necesitas. Pero tienes que tener esa habilidad de usar tu metacomunicación, again, tu verbal y non-verbal language, en una forma que vas a capturar a la audiencia, que vas a cautivar a la audiencia, que vas a conectar emocionalmente con la audiencia. Y sí tenemos muchos casos, tenemos artistas, speakers, comedians, etcétera, etcétera, que sin necesidad de un visual específico pueden conectar con su audiencia. Si tienes la confianza y el skill, ¿no? La habilidad para presentar un tema o establecer un contacto con tu audiencia sin necesidad de un visual, no es realmente necesario. El visual es simplemente una referencia, es una herramienta. Okidoki.
Perfecto, Frank. Y ya ahora sí, la última pregunta nos dice Ivana Márquez. Si al finalizar nadie tiene una duda o pregunta, ¿es recomendable que el ponente realice estas?
No necesariamente. En muchas ocasiones, en mi propia experiencia, he visto que la audiencia no tiene preguntas porque ya se quieren ir, ¿no? Y más si estás en un horario que es like, está cerca de lunch y todo el mundo así como, hello, Frank, lunchtime. Déjalo así. O si ya es hora de check out y ir a casita, no es necesariamente que no tengan preguntas o que todo haya sido muy claro. Me encantaría pensar que todo fue muy claro y por eso no hay preguntas, pero rara vez sucede. Dales la oportunidad de enviar las preguntas más tarde. Probablemente tienen otra junta, lunch, life, algo más que hacer. Entonces, dales la oportunidad de, hey, ok, no questions, mándame cualquier pregunta en email, no problem. Estaré disponible toda la tarde. Mándame tu pregunta cuando creas que sea adecuado. That's it.
Perfecto, Frank. Pues sí, ya no tenemos ahora sí más preguntas. Y bueno,
Okidoki.
antes de finalizar, les aparecerá una pequeña encuesta que nos ayuda a pues evaluar nuestro webinar y saber qué podemos mejorar. Por favor, sean tan amables de responderla. Y también para los que nos preguntaban acerca de más información y costos, un asesor se pondrá en contacto con ustedes para proporcionarles toda la información y beneficios por haber asistido a este workshop. Vamos a dar unos minutos para que nos ayuden respondiendo a la encuesta.
Perfecto. Y bueno, para hacer eco un poquito en los comentarios de Ruth, no se queden con las ganas. Acérquense a su consultor Berlitz. Tenemos estos programas que son muy específicos. No solo es el idioma, no solo es el enfoque del idioma, como lo mencioné antes. Les damos el apoyo para prepararse para esa audiencia que es obviamente internacional, ¿no? Para esas presentaciones, para esos meetings, para esas negotiations que tienen que hacerse en inglés. Entonces, vamos desde las técnicas, desde los tips, hasta llevarlos a una entrega, a un delivery excelente que les va a dar resultados y que les va a ayudar a tener más confianza, no solo al hablar el idioma, pero al hacer negocios o al desarrollar sus labores y sus habilidades de trabajo en un idioma que no es el nativo. So, contacten a su consultor Berlitz y ellos les podrán ofrecer la información de los programas de Business Communication que tenemos en Berlitz, que, again, son más allá del idioma. Thank you very much.
Excelente, Frank. Pues muchísimas gracias por haber asistido y también no olviden seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales. También ya tenemos un podcast en Spotify para que puedan continuar practicando el idioma meta y aprendiendo más de este. Que pasen una excelente noche y muchas gracias.
Thanks, everybody. Great having you all. See you.